All right, it's almost time for the new moon in Libra at the end of Libra season. This is so cool to get to talk about this. And I did another video about how I went MIA during the full moon in Aries and what happened and why I went MIA and my like little personal journey. And yeah, so now I'm back. The lighting is a little funky, but it's obviously not a priority. I don't have a lot of viewers at this point, so I get to have the freedom to just kind of do what I'm going to do and just talk to you. And I'm excited. So I think the lighting, where I have the camera right now, I think the lighting is the best. But here we go. We're just going to go right into it. So we're at like 29 degrees ish, approximately. I didn't look it up, but we're at the very last, we're 24 hours before the sun moves into Scorpio. So that would be 29 degrees, logically speaking, right? Of Libra. So this is the highest degree of the archetypical energy of balance and justice. It's like a second chance. You know, we've had like 2 new moons here and there. I think we had like 2 new moons that really pushed us towards taking action, and that was the previous 30 days. So we've got another new moon here. And this new moon is saying this is another chance. There were seeds that were gathered in the last 30-day cycle of Libra, and this is a chance to plant them now. We did not gather these seeds to save them for spring and plant them in spring and see them come to fruition next autumn. This is here, right now. New moon, the highest degree. So it brings up, because Aries is the opposite, but it's the other side of the same coin of Libra, I'm going to bring Aries energy into it again and talk about Aries energy again. And Aries energy is, who are you? And it's not in this like hermit type reflective way. It's, if you were to take the action that brings your heart the greatest motivation and desire, what would that action be? Because what your heart and your soul wants to do and wants to take action towards the most, not as a reaction to other things always, but on its own. You know, the thing that you dreamed about yourself doing in other lifetimes, the thing that you imagined when you were a child and you imagined doing things, or you played. Did you play as someone who was building things? Are you a builder? Do you like to build businesses? Do you like to build programs? Do you like to build construction, actual platforms and physical structures? Or did you imagine yourself, did you pick up things and pretend that you were singing in front of the mirror when no one was looking? Or maybe when everyone was looking, maybe your family really supported that and you gave out performances doing that. What was it? You know, did you pretend to be doctors? Did you, I know like a lot of kids when I was little, they were really into, I lived in a hippie town, so a lot of these little kids were all about pretending that babies were being born. And I just never wanted to play that. I wanted to put dresses on the cats and sing, and I wanted the cats to be my backup singers and dancers, because they made a lot of noise when you put clothes on them. And I was still learning about empathy when I was a kid, so I didn't quite yet know that the noises that they were making was like, I hadn't quite figured it out. I was very sensitive. You think I would have like figured it out that they didn't really like it, but maybe some of them did. I don't know. But that's a whole nother story. So like, what did you dream about? You know, like what is that thing that's your heart and your soul? Who are you? Because part of that has to do with balance in the whole. There were protests around the world quite a few times. I feel like kind of like more times than ever. I'm almost 50 and I've never noticed so many protests before. And I like to hear what the counter arguments to that is. So like I heard Black folks saying like, yeah, it's one thing when everyone gets together and gets out there. And I agree. Like, there are people that are just so different. There are people out there that don't like trans people, but they like same sex marriage, and they're marching alongside people who are trans. There are people out there who are racist, but they don't like tariffs and taxes, and they're marching out there alongside people who are of different colors and different races. So there is this thing that's like, it's all these people of different mindsets are coming together and agreeing on something enough to be out there. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, and we moved a lot. And at one point we moved to a place where there had been more Olympic swimmers than anywhere that I had ever practiced my workouts before. I had swum alongside like new Olympic swimmers, and I'd been taught by some other Olympic swimmers, but this was a time where I was working out in a place where there were more Olympic swimmers throughout history in that particular pool and in that particular 50-mile radius than anywhere in at least the United States. And those workouts were so hard. There was no fun and games about it. And those workouts were just brutal. And the thing that I noticed in that environment was after those workouts, well, people were crying. It's easy to cry when you're a swimmer. You just cry underwater, nobody knows. But people were crying in the locker rooms. People were holding each other in the locker rooms. It brought people together. The suffering of how incredibly regime-like this environment was brought people together so tightly, and they bonded. There was such a bond of just, yeah. And I would imagine that probably a lot of those people are still very close to this day. It's trauma bonding. But it's trauma bonding from things that people have subscribed to. So it's consensual trauma bonding. But there's something about that energy. Okay, so my point was that everybody has a particular part of themselves that they're bringing there. So, they're against the extra taxes, or they're for equality, or they're for bodily autonomy in regards to if something happens with the pregnancy in the late stages of pregnancy, they feel and believe and know that they have a right to get help and to have that baby get delivered so that the baby lives and the mother lives too. And that the mother shouldn't have to die just because there are laws against certain things that have been misunderstood. And a lot of women have been dying lately because laws have changed. So there were just so many different people of all types gathering, and they all stood for something that represented who they are and what they want. And this applies to your dreams too. We're going to be having a Neptune transit occur. And this applies to the parts of your personality and the things that you love about life, not just lifestyles, not just political things, not just basic human rights, but it can apply to more than that. It can apply to, are you a writer? So this new moon begs the question of what are you and who are you? And what are your gifts? Because your gifts come from who you are, and taking those seeds and planting them now. you will see fruition of those seeds developing within 6 months. So we are talking, it's October now, so like Marchish, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Right, because Aries is the opposite of Libra, right? Okay. So I always like grew up thinking like, I didn't even really count. I just thought March is the opposite of October, but really it's April. Okay. So a Pisces. That's so funny. But no, it's April. So okay. In 6 months, you're going to start to see the fruition of these seeds that are planted. So do the things that you love doing. Do what lights you up the most, what you love the most, not the things that you necessarily get credit for. And that's the thing that like I learned with this Aries full moon. You know, I've been telling people I love to sing. I've been singing as long as I can remember, but I've been telling people I love to sing, want to be in a band. I was in a band for a second, but I want support around singing. And people would be like, oh, you paint? You know, it's like, well, yeah, I can do that, but that's not really what I'm here for to get support on. You know, I like singing, you know, I really want it. It wasn't until I was like out there doing it, fully dressed up with the full makeup on, the costume, like picked my own songs, like did it all. And then people are like, whoa, you sing, never stop singing. I thought that was radio. And that's like, that was the ultimate compliment for me, because singing live for me as a perfectionist, like, yeah, to hear that you sound like the radio, that was really great for me, because I know I don't really sound like a radio. I can hear all the mistakes, and there's beauty in the mistakes as well. But when you break it down, when you dissect all the little pieces and parts that go into singing on key and providing an experience for people that moves them, to you know, hear them be excited that they're, you know, experiencing live music, but that it sounded good enough to be on the radio was like really, really wonderful. And I heard that a lot, and that felt so good. But that it felt good because I was doing what I love. You know, and yeah, painting's great. I picked up painting because I had been rear-ended 2 times in a year and a half, and I couldn't move my body. I could barely walk, and I was trying to walk, and I would force myself to walk because I didn't want to get stuck like that forever. But I was extremely injured, and my body changed so much from that experience. And I wouldn't take like a lot of the drugs that were being offered to me, because I don't like to feel like I'm not in control. So I was really feeling the pain. I took enough just to keep like my blood pressure down, because your blood pressure shoots up when you're in pain. So but now I'm like back to getting my mobility back and dancing again, and that feels really good. But singing ultimately like is what I love. I love it. I love it as much as dancing, and I got to have many years where I did dancing. But singing, I always sang in choirs. You're encouraged to kind of blend in with everyone else when you're in the choir, or to do a solo, but it's a big deal if you do a solo when you're in a choir. And it was like, I didn't really like that feeling. I like the feeling of like, yeah, of course, like I'm doing many solos, and it's not a big deal because there is no choir. And maybe someday there'll be some backup singers, but yeah, doing what you love. And there's baby steps to get you there too. So these seeds can be so many different things. It could be, you know, like if you always loved building and you want ideas for building something that lasts, maybe treating yourself to a new Lego box. I have a lot of people around me that love to build things, and they love Legos. I hate Legos personally, not my thing. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum though. I have mad respect for the people who love their Legos, as long as they get them off the floor. Because you know, us Pisces and our feet, we love our feet, and yeah. So anyway, but yeah, like if it's you like to build things, get yourself one of those cool like little Lego things boxes and make a thing with the Legos. Or if it's singing, invest in a good quality microphone. Um, whatever it might be, or vocal coaching, or go get those YouTube videos. If it's anything creative, but maybe something happened to your voice and you can't sing right now, then pick up another medium that's creative and artistic. Pick up art, pick up painting, pick up some other medium. You'll still hear the music through that medium. All these mediums can coexist and they can combine, they can go together. You can hear and smell and taste the sounds in the clay and vice versa. You can feel the clay in the song. It all is energy. But this is your time to plant your seeds. And if you're thinking like that there's big things that you want to change that seem impossible, it doesn't matter. You're alive right here, right now. Plant your seeds right here, right now. And you never know. One thing I learned about the pandemic, and if I hadn't been injured, I was also injured in another way during the pandemic. But one thing I definitely learned about the pandemic, there were people that like went into despair and they thought like, we're going to be stuck like this forever. And they just kind of like let themselves sink into it. And it's been hard to come out of it. And then there's other people that the Peloton commercials were coming out right before the pandemic became public knowledge. And the Peloton commercials were showing somebody like in like their home and not being outside for like a year, and then like working out on their Peloton every day, and how like they were so fit a year later. Like, so it's like Peloton knew what was going on, but like there are people who were working out during that time. So it's like, and even the tiniest little bit, like seeds are tiny. I'll never forget, like the seeds are tiny. The amount of growth from just a mustard seed is enormous, and it tills the soil. So any seeds that you are planting right now that are in the direction, even if it's a mustard seed, but what you really want to grow are dahlias, but you need to turn that soil first. Those beautiful flowers are going to come up, and in the wintertime, that mustard is going to help you with depression if you get seasonal affective disorder, and yada yada. So just plant those seeds. Anything that's in the direction. No seed is too small. The tiniest seed can really, all it takes is for one mustard seed, and you've got like a whole bunch of growth. So just, this is the time. Scorpio, we're moving into Scorpio. It's a time of transformation. We're going to be at 0 degrees Scorpio 24 hours after this new moon. And so the effects of this new moon, are going to be playing out over the next 6 months. But there's also Scorpio season. So in another video, I'll talk about Scorpio season. Good luck with this seed planting, and stay tuned for Scorpio sun season and what that means